Good afternoon. It's great to be here at AFIS 2021 Investing African Conference and Expo. My name is Bamidele Oseni. I'm a managing partner and CEO of Caleb Consulting Limited, Kampala, a firm of bank strategy and risk consultant. We specialize in risk assurance, financial institution risk assurance, non-financial institution, financial services, strategy and corporate finance, HR sourcing. In this conference, I'll be sharing with you evolving role of digitalization in bank strategic planning and execution. So we're going to go to the next agenda, which is I want to show you quickly what are the content we are going to have. Basically, I'm going to be talking about the pandemic, the overview of microeconomy, the kind of economy we're talking about right now. The conceptual definition of bank strategy, digitalization versus digitalization, current function of digitalization, evolving roles of digitalization bank strategies, planning and execution, building agility into banking product, and best-in-class corporate and risk management strategy. What is the overview? We're going to look at what's the overview of digital economy and corona dynamics. Now, the new economy we have right now is digital economy. Because for the last, about 2 years ago right now, most nations for almost 17, 16 months of at least a year were on lockdown. So, and during this period, activity were going on virtual, on internet, on e-commerce, and this is the way of life right now. So the new digital economy is where globalization is now truncated. You now have more nationalistic activities. There's a digital revolution, e-commerce, geopolitical activity, inequality between rich and poor, because right now with coronomics, we now have more, the gap between the rich and poor is now widening. The climate change, the ESG is now becoming an integral part of business, no longer a moral suasion, but a sustainable way of doing business. I will not want to take you through this, bug with this. Let's go to the next slide. Now, what is a bank strategy about? Banks is basically a plan of action that the bank puts in place to achieve their business, financial, and non-financial goals. The objective of this strategy is to grow the business of the bank, the business of the banks, by setting targets and budget for various internal stakeholders to achieve their transaction volume targets, their relationship value and customer base, to expand the bank target market or geographical markets, to enhance operational and business process efficiency, revenue, to grow revenues, to increase profitability at the end of the day, give an excellent customer experience. The bank strategy process, the both plan and execution, includes key stakeholders. One of them is customers. These are the reason why banks exist. The vendors, the third parties again, the outsourcing activities, the people, I mean the board of directors who are the oversight over the strategy of the bank, the management who are the execution of the strategy, and the staff, the entire staff who are part of the execution team. The process, which is the platform which strategy is executed, the business process, the operational process, and the system, the infrastructure, the IT infrastructure upon which the bank drive their business. And critically, and most importantly, which is now the key for my discussion, is data, which is the key thing that is going to be playing out in the bank strategy formulation going forward. How able you are to leverage on your data, your customer data, their activity, their behavior, their family, their relative. So what is digitization versus digitalization? Digitization is basically the process converting data to digital format. You have a policy in hard copy, you put them into PDF form and put it on internet. That's digitalization. That's digitization. But digitalization is actually leveraging on technology and other innovative tools to improve the efficiency and efficacy of the process, the business process, the operational process, either by building in-house capacity or partnering with third party. This is a thing I borrowed from KPMG 2020. Now, what are the benefits of this digitalization? It gives customer user-friendly experience, you enhance efficiency, long-term cost efficiency, and data-driven decision is going to be taking, increase customers. What are the functions? How does bank use digitalization? How do they leverage the technology? Basically, most have banking software to which they incorporate their transaction, be able to know customer base, customer account transaction, the profitability of the bank, of the branches. That is currently what technology that's how it's doing right now. The next level is that most banks are transferring their manual process into desktop or internet, or the policy hard copy, put it in PDF form, put them on internet, put them on. That's basically what banks are doing for digitalization. Unfortunately, most of the customer and business data are not currently properly being stored. That's why we're talking about big data. That's why we're talking about big data. Most banks do not have a properly stored customer and business data in a consolidated and an encrypted form. After 20 years of banking and audit, I can tell you with all honestly that most banks have their data scattered everywhere. In actual fact, a lot of people are having access to data that they are not supposed to have access to. And that is the asset classification is not yet there in most financial institutions. It's just evolving. Process automation is still minimal. You still see a lot of data, manual process being converted to internet data or desktop data. Machine learning and artificial intelligence is really used in strategic planning and execution. What do I mean? I was discussing that in the above Europe. Internet of everything is still a mirror. Digitalization currently is mostly what banks are doing, apart from having their banking software, which they use to drive, to implement their strategy right now, is mostly imitation. The customer experience on the product and services is more of imitation of another banks. What our computer doing? Let's do the same thing. And as against imagination, every digitalization must have digital strategy. You must have this mindset, the imagine where you're doing your customer base, where they're going to be, what they're like, things like that. What the reimagination. That is the way data digitalization is supposed to be deployed. Customer experience are really seamlessly. When we say seamlessly, without any call, without any truncation, without customer has to call for this, they are really seamless. Now, how has banks survived pandemic? We all know, basically, I don't want to spend too much time here again because of my time. What are the future of banking innovation? Basically, the future now is going to be banks must have a strategy of digital imagination. You must imagine based on the data of your customer in terms of their behavior, their spending pattern, their traveling pattern, their relationship pattern, and things they do, things they buy, what is going, you must be able to imagine what are the products and services they will need in 2 years' time, in 3 years' time, or how many of them are retiring, what are the insurance products they will need in services. Those are kind of things, those are the kind of things that the way digital products must be designed. There must be cost that will give a customer consistent customer experience. Again, banks must be able to adopt artificial intelligence to take care of repeated activity that banks are doing. When I say repeated operation, like somebody is just batching, is just stamping, somebody just tapping all the checks received. Those can be done by a robot if it's automated. You don't need somebody to be stamping every check received at every time. Those are things artificial intelligence can do. In our processes, you just need to look at what are the process. Those are the repeated process that we can, because robots can actually do a repeated process to artificial intelligence. So we have to enhance automation. Product and service have to be prioritization. In this time of pandemic, post-pandemic, most of the services needed by people are essential. Water, food, health, insurance. Those are the product and services that customer will be much more interested and they'll be ready to buy. Internet of everything must be a way of life. Ecosystem prioritization is important. You put all this in ecosystem and parallel. And we must have a robust data payment solution. In the last pandemic, most banks implemented remote working technology to some extent, partner with some key management, enhance their mobile banking platform. But in all these things, there were a lot of e-corp coming up with this remote working technology. Last year, a magazine says more than 50, the cyber fraud increased by 50%, which means with remote working, there are a lot of hacking going on. There are a lot of compromise. So which means going forward, we need to train our staff on the remote working technology, remote working security, cyber security, and what they need to do to ensure this cyber attack is minimized. Investment in technology platform. Digitalization requires a lot of investment in platform. You have to have your digital platform. You have to have a whole team dedicated to coming up with developers, developing a new set of products and coming up with a set of new services that can be iterated. 2 weeks they finish and the management can approve it. So these are things in the investment. We must also establish a device cybersecurity framework that must align with risk management maturity and must align with digital strategy and business strategy. Because that's the only way digitalization will not lead to loss for a bank or for an institution. What are the involving of that? Basically, in the past, getting data on customer of the bank is a problem. That is there, because before you plant a new product or services, you must be able to understand the spending pattern of your clients, what they do mostly, their activity, their itinerary, their spending pattern, what are the business, what are the things that are concerned to them, what are the things they play a really emphasis and premium on. These data are currently not available in many institutions. So which will make customer acquisition difficult. Any bank is able to develop its account opening process such that you can get this information on the spending pattern, on the thing that customer play premium on, will be able to acquire more customer. And that will be an input into strategic planning on, because a bank cannot say, I want to grow my customer from 1 million to 3 million without understanding what will drive their process, which means the data that will drive the process. And so that's number one. Number two, again, under customer acquisition, is that we must be able to come up with digital product that meets the need of the client, not our current normal product. Again, our virtual experience, our online platform must be seamlessly, I must give a excellent customer experience. Some 3 years ago, when we were doing this digitalization in my former bank, somebody came from Europe and says for 6 months he has not been to his bank. He's been transacting online. That is the way forward. That should be the way forward in Africa. Then the digital strategy should be more immediate imagination and reimagination than imitation. Now, data must be collected to be able to predict client need. That is predictability, rather than banks find themselves in we don't know and begin to guess what will be the need of the clients. On business model and target marketing, again, is a data. Because before a bank will say, I want to play emphasis on business banking, on corporate banking, you must have data about this customer in this segment. How many corporate companies you have in your country? How many, what are their needs? What are their challenges? You must be able to get data on this. Somebody must create data on that. That will help to know whether you're going to focus more on the corporate markets or on SME market or on the personal banking market. Because the information you know about the corporate clients, about the business client and personal client will go a long way to feed into how you come about your revenue streams. Because it is based on the data you're able to generate will make you to decide the product and service you will design for this particular client, and at the end of the day, to be able to generate that revenue. Again, the strategy will not shift from being medium term of 3 years to agile strategy, which means every time bank must have built a database of environmental scanning. You must be able to scan your data and be able to get information on your on the environment, on market you operate, and be able to generate data that will help to either support your strategy or make you to quickly adjust your strategy such that you can grow your business and still meet your profitability. Now, people and culture, and again, these days is a day of online, webinar, remote control work, because most institutions in Europe, for instance, they've not gone to work in Europe for almost 2 years right now. They're still at home, they're working from home. So staff who don't know how to use Microsoft Teams for training, Zoom for training, Google Chat for training, will have problem in learning. And these tools are good way of reducing costs. If you check online now, for every Zoom meeting is about 30% cost reduction. And this is good for banks because you still engage in training. So again, physical presence versus remote work life. Bank must also look at what staff must stay at home, what staff must be working remotely, and what staff must be in the office on need basis. This also will reduce the cost of doing business, which will feed into the strategy of the bank. Then again, what skill staff do we have? What staff doing or skill, which also feed into the strategy planning of the bank, so that bank will know the cost to spend in planning, in training, at the same time the value that is going to come off operational process. In this case, you will need to get platform. We need platform that will be able to drive our predictive analysis. What do I mean? In these days, we must have an automated process. An automated process is not the same as manual process. It's not the same that manual process transfer to desktop. Automated process means you must have some set of developers coming up to looking at the process of the banks and say, let's look at our teller clearing, teller activity. How can we automate it? Let's look at our clearing process. How do we automate it? Let's look at our cash deposit machine. How do we get customer automated this way and put it as a kind of a brochure that customer can know what to do when they go to cash deposit machine? These are the things that will require a lot of new platform. The agile technology is what drives automated process, because developer will come in 2 weeks. We have a team of Scrum teams who come together, come to develop a product, improve a process. Within 2 weeks, come back and develop to the management, come in, put an input. At the end of the day, within maximum of 1 month, a process is ready to be implemented. And that's an agile approach. Again, this is not for everybody. And that's why I say information asset class is critical. It's not everybody that must be in agile team, must be in digital team. So these are kind of things that will go into strategic planning of the bank going forward and execution, because your execution is going to be driven mostly by your operational process. If your process is not effective, is not efficient, is not automated, is not agile inclined, people will not want to patronize you. Because why? This is in the days of digitalization online. So artificial intelligence is becoming critical to, as I said earlier, to take over repeated process. And predictive analysis is important so that we can know the behavior of our clients. We can be able to design product for them. For instance, if somebody knows us, for instance, I'm a pastor by the grace of God. If you know I'm as a pastor, I'm a customer of the bank. A pastor, you know that I will always go to church. I'm always going to preach. So I would need an ATM machine, and I would need a point of sales in my church to be able to, for me to pay tithes. I will need some products that will help me as a pastor, as a bank. So if you have this, for instance, if I go to a bank and somebody asks what's my occupation, I'm a consultant. If there's no other information that you can ask for me, if you don't ask me what else do you do, I won't share with you, and you won't know I'm a pastor, and you won't be able to know how to design a product that will meet my need. So this is how digitalization come into place now. But digitalization feed on data, and the data collected from client will feed it into your planning of your customer, of the budget, of numbers to arrive. If you don't have enough data about your customer in terms of what they do, their lifestyle, you will not be able to design a product to be able to catch, to generate revenue from there. You'll be missing out from there. And that's where the challenge is. And that's why we say, going forward, strategy planning and execution is mostly going to be driven by the data you have about the customer, about the people, about your processes, about the target market. This is data that will be driving your planning and your execution, to know the client you are going to pursue, to know the revenue you are going to generate from them. For instance, some banks do not know customer revenue per customer. If you don't know how much the revenue per your customer, there's a problem. And it will be difficult by the time you go to full digitalization to be able to make more money from that client, because you don't even know how much cost you put into that customer and how much revenue you're taking from that customer. So again, in the conclusive part of this step, that there is no in digitalization, for us to have a great impact in terms of to make profit, to be profitable, not to put money in one basket and to be getting out, to put money in one bank account and to be getting out, to be leaking out somewhere. You must be able to align your digital strategy, your business strategy, your cybersecurity strategy, and risk management strategy together. What am I saying? Every bank must match their cybersecurity maturity with their risk maturity and digital strategy maturity. What do I mean? A bank cannot be saying, I want to go on imagination, when you are still at the level of risk awareness, when your risk framework are not been designed. Cyber fraud, the criminal, they will attack the bank, because why? There are no risk structure in place. There are no cybersecurity structure in place to mitigate the risk that will be coming from digital imagination. So therefore, a bank that's a digital imagination and is in terms of risk maturity is on awareness level, in terms of cybersecurity is still ad hoc, we lose a lot of money. And that's why a lot of banks have lost money to cyber fraud. Again, a bank can be at a risk design stage, and you're already at digital delivery. You're already creating experience. You are inventing the core. You are leading the change in customer in the digital strategy, and you are still at risk design. You're not yet at risk management, risk manage of maturity, and you're not yet an advanced function of cybersecurity. There's going to be a problem, because why? You are taking more risks than your controls. You are taking more risk than the risk infrastructure and cyber infrastructure. And the cyber criminal will take advantage of that and will make money from that bank. So this is why it is important that going forward, every bank, before you are in your strategy plan, in your execution, you must align your cybersecurity maturity with your risk management maturity, with your digital strategy maturity, and business strategy. In all of this, that will help you to be able to maximize and be able to achieve your budget and be able to be profitable. And because it's possible to go in digitalization and make losses, because there are no risk infrastructure, there are no cybersecurity infrastructure to mitigate the new risks that are coming on board. So it's on this platform, because why? Your risk for a company, for a bank that's at the level of digital implementation, full blown, and it has built platform. I see a lot of banks in Africa, they have platforms for digital strategy, but they are not at the level of optimized of risk maturity. They are not even at the level of reimagination of proactive approach of cybersecurity. The question is that how would they not lose money? Because you are taking more risk than the structure for cyber and risk management. So into this extent, that's why your risk management must go to the next level of, maybe I was talking the next slide. So let's go to the next slide. The next slide is, again, how do we get digitalizing in our plan and execution? For a company, for a bank that want to be strong in governance and compliance, especially on AML. The board meeting these days must not necessarily be physical. Because you have a structure, you have a Zoom meeting, if you have a Microsoft team, which is zero costs, when you have bank might not be able to Google Chat, Microsoft Teams and Zoom, they are there. The bank can decide twice in a year we will have Zoom board meeting. And when we have a Zoom board meeting, the cost, what you pay the directors will not be the same thing when they are physically present, because they are using online platform. So you can do your governance, your board governance using Zoom meeting. Because the one in a year we do a board meeting using a Zoom, we use a Microsoft team. You have reduced cost, and when cost is reduced, you have leverage to make more profit. That's that. Then on the area of AML, anti-money laundering and compliance monitoring, with enough data, if the bank has enough data about their customer, the customer data, in terms of the spending pattern, you're able to use machine learning and artificial intelligence. When you use a machine learning, the machine learning will collect data using the pattern. The machine learning is an algorithm that will use the pattern of a customer. What is the pattern of this client? How many times has he withdrawn money in a month? How much money has he asked in a month, in a year? So the algorithm will be setting such that it will take into place the spending pattern, the behavior pattern of this client. So when a client just comes with an unusual transaction, the machine learning and artificial learning, they are able to help you to flag it out and say this is a suspicious transaction, which will now help the compliance team to go further and investigate and ask questions. So you don't need the machine learning built into your AML software. The artificial intelligence can actually help the bank to be able to do more of compliance monitoring. I used to work in a bank whereby they have 1,000 cases. How to get a compliance user if this is a problem. But when there's a machine learning, when it's artificial intelligence, who are able with algorithm put in place, is able to learn the behavior of every client, no matter thousands of them, millions of them. And at the end of the day, it will be able to complete. So this is, it also use, my time is almost going through, and it's also use fraud detection, can use to fraud detection, and can use to governance. And agility is critical in this season. We must be agile, speed of time, iteration. In conclusion, we must have a best-in-class corporate risk management plan, which I've said before, have a risk management framework, enterprise risk management framework, embedded risk management, digitalization, end-to-end, digital risk enabling institution, and forward-looking. And with this thing, beloved, I think we will be able to plan properly and mitigate our businesses and be able to be profitable. What am I saying? Data. Everything in plan is about data. The more data you have, the better you're able to understand your customer, the better you're able to make more money from your customer. Thank you very much for listening. I will now entertain questions.